Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, December 27th, and welcome back to the Nick Watkins Show. I'm Nick Watkins. Let's get into it. But first, welcome to those of you listening on Spotify. I've been wanting to put this podcast on Spotify for some time, and thank you to everyone who suggested that and pushed me towards doing that. And I guess today's the day for putting this show on Spotify. So if you want to watch the previous however many episodes, like 115, you can go on YouTube. All those are there. But starting today, they'll be on now YouTube and Spotify, both of the platforms. And then welcome back to those of you on YouTube. Not much happened yesterday. A couple of basketball games, no football, no hockey. So I want to go back to something that happened on Christmas, and we didn't really talk about that much. And one football game in particular that I want to talk about and what it means is the Vikings and Lions game. The Vikings defeated the Lions 23-10. That was the second of the three games on Christmas. And what this means is the Lions have been eliminated from the playoffs. And that means for the NFC playoff picture that six of the seven teams have now clinched the playoffs. The only team not doing so is the whoever wins the NFC South. If you're not familiar with that situation, the Panthers are 8-7 after beating the Buccaneers last Sunday. The Buccaneers are 7-8, and if the Panthers lose tomorrow to the Seahawks and the Bucks beat the Dolphins, that'll set up a winner-take-all division showdown in Week 18 in Tampa, where the winner will have the 4th seed and host a playoff game, and the loser will miss the playoffs entirely. So that's really high stakes. But because the Lions lost, we can kind of see who's in the playoffs now. All the wild card spots have been taken up in the NFC, and I want to talk about some of the very interesting scenarios that can happen from these next 2 weeks of action. So we'll start with the NFC. We'll jump over to the AFC, but I want to start with the NFC because that's where the 49ers are, and there are lots of ways that the playoff picture can end, lots of ways it can be shaken up. So let's take a look at it. First, the 1 seed as it stands are the Seattle Seahawks at 12-3. They control their own destiny to the 1 seed. And for those of you who don't necessarily know what that means, it means as long as they win every game that they have to, which is the 2 games, if they win their next 2 games, then they are the 1 seed. But if they lose, then other stuff has to happen for them to get to the 1 seed. So they control their own destiny in the sense that as long as they win, they are the 1 seed. And the same thing goes for the 49ers, who are 11-4, but crucially beat Seattle in that Week 1 game in Seattle. And that means that even if we are a game behind them going into Sunday, January 4th, if we win, then we'll be tied at the same record with a 2-0 head-to-head tiebreaker. That'll get us the 1 seed. So that's best case scenario for us. That being said, it is easier said than done because the next 2 games for us are the Bears and then the Seahawks. When the Seahawks have the Panthers and then us. So while the Panthers are still a good team, they are 8-7, currently in the 4th seed. The Bears are better than the Panthers, so we have a harder road to get to the 1 seed. And that's for the NFC West. And that's not the only 2 teams vying for that NFC West championship. And the 1 seed, the Los Angeles Rams, are 11-4. We're currently above them because we have a better divisional record, 4-1 at 3-2, because we beat the Cardinals twice, beat the Rams and the Seahawks, and then lost to the Rams. Meanwhile, the Rams lost to us and the Seahawks, which means that they have 2 losses and we have 1. So that's why we have the tiebreaker over the Rams. So that's the NFC West. As for the North, that's critical for today because the Packers actually play today. They play the Ravens at 5 on Peacock. The Packers have to win out and get some help from us in order to be the winners of the NFC North. They will need to beat the Ravens, and then I think they play the Lions on January 4th. I'm not completely sure. They play the Vikings, so they would have to beat the Ravens tonight and the Vikings on the 4th, and the Bears would have to lose to us, or lose to the Lions. I think that they would have to, as long as the Packers win 2 and the Bears lose 1, that would get the Packers the NFC North division title, which would give them a home playoff game. And this is why this is important, because it's not just something you can put on a banner or something. This actually means a lot. Hosting a playoff game, obviously, is much better than going on the road during a playoff game. Not just because of the crowd, because of scheduling stuff. It just makes it so much easier on the home team. That's why getting a high seed is important. The only team to have clinched a division so far happened last week, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles. And there are 8 divisions in football, and only one has been clinched, which means it is wide open. And a lot of them are really 50-50. You take a look at the NFC South, NFC West for us as well. I think the NFC North is a little bit more out of reach. The Bears, I think the Bears will take that one because they are up a game and a half on the Packers. It's very frustrating that the Packers tied in week 4 because it makes it a lot harder to do the math and stuff and think about how this is going to work out because they have that stupid tie. So they're a game and a half back of the Bears, even though they've played the same amount of games. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, there are still 7 divisions up for grabs, and because there are only 3 in the NFC, that means in the AFC, every single division can still be won by multiple teams. So let's talk about that. And the game that's going on right now affects that in multiple ways. Right now, the Texans and the Chargers are currently playing in Los Angeles, and we'll talk about what that means. We'll start with the AFC West and the Chargers because that's what the 1 seed is. The Denver Broncos are the 1 seed in the AFC as it stands right now, 13-3. They won on Christmas against the Chiefs. That's why they're 13-3, and they have played 16 games. Nobody else in the AFC playoff picture has played nobody else in 1 through 7 have played 13 or 16 games yet. Sorry, 16 games. So in order for the Chargers to win the AFC West over the Broncos, they would have to win. They would have to win out. They would have to win right now against the Texans, and they would have to win Week 18, which is against the Broncos. So if the Broncos, the Broncos already played. So if the Chargers win this game, it would set up a winner-take-all divisional showdown on January 4th. And I've said that before, and this is a trend that's going to happen, that could happen a lot of times. The Niners and Seahawks, Bucks and Panthers, you already mentioned. It could also be the Broncos and the Chargers, which would be super exciting. The AFC West is just like the NFC West, and literally the same, pretty much record-wise. The reason the Chargers have a chance is because they beat the Broncos early in the year in Week 3. That's why if they tie, they would have the head-to-head record tiebreaker. The Chargers, by the way, are 5-0 against the division. So if they win on Week 18, they'll have swept every single AFC West opponent, which is that's a good stat. That's something you want to do. You want to beat up on your rivals, and it counts a lot more for tiebreakers. The AFC East is led by the Patriots, who are 13-3. They are the 2 seed in the AFC. The Bills are 11-4, so 1 game behind them. And this it differs. It's kind of like NFC North in a sense, because the Bills still can win the division, but they need a lot of help because they don't play the Patriots again. These 2 teams split the season series, much like the Bears and the Packers. So although the Bills are only a game back, they would need some help. And the Patriots' upcoming schedule is very weak. They played the Jets and the Dolphins, which is why, in my opinion, the Patriots are the most likely team to win their division out of all the teams that could still win their division. I think the Patriots are the most likely to win their division just because of the games they have coming up and the way they've been playing. It should be a cakewalk for them. And as long as they win 1, then they should be set, I believe. I'm not completely sure about that, but Patriots look like they're in a good position to take the East. The Bills are not in a bad position, though. Obviously, they still can win the division, but even if they're not, they would either go to, depending on how everything shakes up, they could be facing the Steelers or the Jaguars, or if they slip a little bit, they play the Eagles this week. They could play the Patriots. I don't know. It's very interesting to see how that shakes up. Now, for the South, with the Texans who are playing right now, they are trailing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who lead the division by 1 game over them. I am not sure. I'm gonna double check here. Who won the matchups head to head? So it looks like the Texans won. So they split the season series. So that way, so one if the season series is tied the head to head, it would go to division. That's the next one. The Jaguars are 3-1 in the AFC South, so that means they still have to play two more games against the South. And the Texans are 4-1 against the South. So if the Texans were to have the tiebreaker, if they were tied at the end of the year and the Texans beat the Colts, the Texans would win the South. But the Jaguars are a game up. They just came off a strong win against the Broncos. They're probably feeling good right now, and they have to play their game would be the Titans in Week 18, which is much easier than having to play the Colts. So in my opinion, I think the Jaguars will win the AFC South because they're a game up and because their schedule, just like the Patriots in the East. And then the other one, it's very like symmetrical almost. The way everything's shaking out. If you look at the four seed in each conference, it's a team that's not, it has the least amount of wins in out of all the playoff teams, but they're still in the four seed because that's how the NFL's playoff seeding works. In the four seed for the AFC North, or for the AFC, right? It's the AFC North. It's the Steelers at 9-6. The Ravens are 7-8. The Ravens play tonight against the Packers, and any loss for the Ravens or any win for the Steelers would mean that the Ravens are eliminated from the playoff, just like the NFC South. There's no wild card for the loser of the division. They would miss the playoffs entirely, which is why it's so crucial to win these upcoming games. The Ravens would have to beat the Packers, and the Steelers would have to lose to the Browns in order to set up a Week 18 winner take all divisional showdown on Sunday, January 4th. That's the fourth time I've said that. It could happen, I believe, 4 or 5 times, or 4 or 5 different ways. I think just four actually. There could be four winner take all for the division head to head matchups on Sunday, January 4th, which would be super exciting. But for the two AFC, or for this AFC scenario rather, I just don't think it's going to happen. Even if the Ravens win tonight against a good Packers team, the Steelers would have to still lose to the Browns, and then the Ravens have to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I just don't see that happening. The Ravens don't have Lamar for this game, most likely. The Packers don't have Jordan Love, but I feel like that kind of cancels out because of the backups. And still, either way, the Packers and the Ravens each have very good backup quarterbacks. In terms of ranking the backup quarterbacks, I mean, I don't pay attention. Like, I don't know off the top of my head all 32, but I feel like Snoop Huntley for the Ravens and Malik Willis for the Packers are definitely top 10 backups in the league. And they're very capable of succeeding, as we saw on Saturday for the Packers and Sunday for the Ravens. Even though they lost, they still played well and gave their teams a chance to win. So I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, that's how it's going. And then I'll be out. I haven't mentioned the Colts. The Colts are 8-7. They're not mathematically eliminated. They're 0-5 in their last 5 games. That is crazy. They were the favorites about midway through the season. Now they lost 5 in a row. Of course, that does, injuries did play a part in that. But the Colts are still alive, but they need a lot of help in order to. Honestly, I'm not even sure how they're still in this, but they are technically. With the Texans win, though, they're eliminated. So, it's 14-0. I missed the touchdown. Um, Probably should watch that. So yeah, that's how it's going. I think while we're getting into this, since we just talked about all of it, let's just before we end this episode talk about some predictions of who's going to win each division. Because like I said, there are still 7 up for grabs. We'll start AFC. For the North, I think the Steelers are going to win for the reasons I mentioned previously. They have the easier schedule and the potential hypothetical tiebreaker matchup, winner take all matchup would be in Pittsburgh, which gives them an advantage. So I'll take the Steelers to win the North. For the South, I think the Jaguars, because of the kind of the same reason, they're a game up, and they have the easier schedule playing the Titans in Week 18. So even if they well, that's kind of tough actually. I kind of talked myself out of that one. They're only one game up, so if the Texans were to win and the Jaguars were to lose, um, I'm still going to take the Jaguars. I think the Texans will win out, but I think the Jaguars will also win out. So I think both teams will win their last two games, and therefore the Jaguars will win the South. As for the East, I think it'll be the Patriots because their schedule is so easy and their game up, same reason as the other ones. And then for the West, this one's kind of interesting. Um, like I said, based on how they're going right now, and obviously I know a little bit more because the game's going on. The Chargers looks like they're going to lose this game. I mean, obviously you never know. It's still really early. We're only halfway through the first quarter. Um, I'm still going to take the Broncos. They're up two games, or well, the head-to-head tiebreaker stuff. They're up by a game, game and a half technically. I'll take the Broncos to win the West. For the NFC North, it'll be the Bears. They have the lead. I think they even if they lose to us tomorrow, which I'm definitely hoping will happen, I still think they'll take that Week 18 game. And I do think the Packers are going to win tonight. Um, I'm not sure. I think both teams will probably win out. Is my guess. Or no, 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 no. The Bears will lose. Well, in that case, and the Packers would. I'm just gonna take the Bears and move on because all of this is doing. I'm doing all this math in my head, so sometimes I get a little bit lost. For the South, I think this is definitely the most interesting one. I think. I do think the Panthers will lose this week. I think the Bucks will win, which will set up that tiebreaker. It'll be in Tampa Bay. I think Carolina is definitely the hotter team, um, but the Buccaneers have the experience. When it comes down, to, this is really this like honestly might be 50-50. This is really this is really difficult. I get it's kind of based on feel. It might change depending on how they perform against their opponents next week. As of right now, though, I want to take the Buccaneers, but I'm just going to leave. I have to say Panthers. They've just been better as of late, and even though it's a home game for the Bucks, I think the Panthers have been playing better ball. I think their defense is very good. I'm gonna take the Panthers to win the South, but it is really close. As for the East, the Eagles already won it, and then for the West, this is the exciting one. Who will win the NFC West? There are three teams that could do it, and most likely the winner of the West will be the one seed. I'm and you gotta understand, I'm definitely biased, but give me the 49ers to win the NFC West. I don't care how tough our schedule is, and it is really tough to end the year. I think the Seahawks are gonna win in Carolina, and I think the Rams are gonna win their next two games as well. The Falcons and the Cardinals, those are easy games for the Rams. I think every I think each NFC West team is going to win next week, and then the following week, the Week 18, I think this game will get flexed to Sunday Night Football, and the Niners will win it. I think the Niners are winning. The Niners are winning the NFC West, and it'll be so important for us to rest up and get healthy. Fred Warner could potentially be coming back. Give me the 49ers to win the NFC West and take the NFC 1 seed. Those are my predictions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.